You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. It has been almost a month since the Roughnecks volleyball tournament, but I wanted to say thank you to everyone who came out, and thank you to Low Gap for playing during the event. It was an awesome time, and I can't wait for round 2 next year. Don't forget, there are pictures on the Roughnecks Facebook from the event if you want to go check those out. If you played, or even if you didn't play, there's pictures of the people that just came to watch as well. And I also wanted to remind you guys that we just recently dropped some new merch, and buying and wearing merch is the best way to support the podcast. So head over to roughneckspodcast.com and grab yourself some new merch. But joining me today is something that is a little different for me. I'm a big sports guy, but not as big into baseball. It's been a while since I've been in the baseball world, but it's not out of my realm of things that I know. But without further ado, Adam, welcome to the Roughnecks Podcast.
Hi, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I got in contact with you and read over the email and everything, and was like, this is definitely, I played baseball when I was younger, but then went on to stick with football and basketball, and just spent the spring season and stuff, working on those sports. One of the sports that I wish I would have stuck more with, honestly. I always kind of regret a little bit not sticking with baseball longer. I always enjoyed baseball, but just before we dive into that stuff real quick, I want to kind of allow you to give a background on who you are and kind of what you do. So tell the Roughnecks listeners who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Adam Battersby, and I work for a part owner of ProBatter Sports. And ProBatter Sports, we make video pitching machines for baseball, softball, and cricket. And basically what that is we put a video screen in front of a pitching machine that shows a real live image of a right-hand or left-hand pitcher, both at the minor league level and the little league level, winding up before the ball comes out of a hole in the video screen. So it really looks like a real live pitcher is throwing the ball at you. And also some of our machines are controlled by big color touchscreens. So you get 10 different pitches, any speed from 40 to 100 miles an hour, any location. You can do pitch by pitch. You can do repeated pitch, random sequence. You can record your own sequence. So it's really the closest thing to real live batting that you can get without actually having a pitcher throw the ball to you. So it's a really cool machine.
What was the idea? Because there's, this is more of a higher end, I want to say, like a more advanced pitching machine. What was the reason to kind of take it? What was your thought process of why you did it? Because originally, most people, there's just like the normal baseball pitching thing that just throws it same spot, like roughly the same speed every time. So what made you want to advance it?
Yeah, so growing up, we had a batting cage in our backyard with a little 2-wheel jugs machine. And basically, if you guys know the jugs machine, you raise your hand up, put the ball in. It doesn't always go smoothly through. So sometimes it hiccups a little bit, so you can't really time the ball that right. And also, when you change the pitch from a fastball to curveball, you have to adjust the dials, tilt the machine, throw a couple test pitches. At that point, you know what's coming. So you don't learn how to hit the curveball. You learn just where to put your bat and hit the ball. And that was my biggest problem, because a fastball I can hit all day. I mean, I had no problem with the fastball like most baseball players. But once you hit the curveballs and sliders and breaking pitches, I mean, that's when it gets tough. And so basically we took that. We took it, one step further. And my father, we got an engineer, one of 7 engineers, throughout the years, came up with a fully programmable pitching machine. Then we added the video screen to it, and we are right now, where we are. And it took a long time to come out with, but I think it checks off a lot of boxes of what was needed at the time.
Yeah, because like you said, you can throw 10 different pitches. That's correct.
Yeah. Yep.
What all pitches can you can be thrown with it?
Yeah, so it's fastball, changeup. There's 2 kind of curveballs. One's a generic curveball, and one's more of a 12 to 6 curveball. Then you have a slider, a splitter, a cutter, 2-seam fastball, sinker. I think that's it. It's basically every pitch that you can throw besides a knuckleball, because the knuckleball waffles so much that's hard to control. So with our machine, you can pick exactly where you want it, and the knuckleballs, it just kind of goes like crazy. So they're kind of hard to pitch with a pitching machine anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it can also go 42 to 100 miles an hour. What would you say is your typical, like, what best age group does this fit for? Or do you see kind of a wide range?
Yeah, so we actually, it's all different ranges. Since it starts at 40 and we have Little League picture images on there, you can start at any age basically. And the way the touchscreen is laid out is you have 9 different levels. They're all age appropriate levels. So the first 3 levels are based off 45 feet, and you have the Little League throwing to you. And then the higher level you go is based off 60 feet, 6 inches. You have the minor leaguer at you. And the higher level you go, the more pitch selection you have, and the more speed ranges you have. So basically what you would do, you put down 2 home plates, one for little guys and one for the older guys. And then what we actually also have, which is pretty cool, is a combo machine. And if you have that, then you have the softball thrown to Little League distance. So you still have those 2 home plates. But it's really wild, watching these images, throw and wind up, and it's a cool machine.
Yeah, I've looked at them, and it's literally like essentially a projector screen with you see an actual pitcher, and then there's just the hole right where the ball comes through, but it's as their hand is it's literally like someone is throwing you the ball the entire time. And in batting practice, like the BP that they do before MLB games and stuff, you're getting the same type of pitch pretty much every time, and it's not as realistic as, or like if you have batting practice during practice, you don't always get the realistic unless you have a live pitcher throwing to you, but this gives it more of a realistic feel to it. So that was the goal, obviously, but where was, like, when you originally created, where was the clientele? Like, what kind of type of clientele were you looking to reach when you guys originally came up with this?
Yeah, so when we started in 1999, our machine at the time was like $95,000, which was expensive. And the next highest pitch machine was like $7,000. So it was a hard sale. So we went after Major League Baseball. We had a few Major League Baseball customers at first. And that kind of helped pave the way, because if I'm calling it like a batting cage, these batting cages don't make that much money. I mean, they make good money, but not enough to justify a $95,000 machine. So at first you have a lot of resistance. They're like, why should I buy this? I can't afford it. What kind of money does it make with it? And they ask those questions. But then when you started telling that the White Sox use it, or this team uses it, or that team uses it, then slowly you start building momentum, and they start listening to you, and they start hearing you out, and they start realizing that if the major league guys are using it, then it is a great training tool, and maybe we should adapt it too. So basically, then from there we went down in price. We hit more of the training centers. Right now, the batting cage and training center market's definitely our biggest market, just because they can make money with it, and it help. It's a good revenue producing machine. But then we went down, quite a bit in price. Then we went down to another model, 45, then another model at 27, and we have other models that start at 8,000. So it's definitely helped out quite a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the price, because it's crazy to think that you started from the top and worked your way down, where a lot of people kind of go the opposite direction, where they start from the little guys to work to the big guys. But it's everything works different. Was that a challenge to have to go that route, or was it just kind of the way it felt?
I would say it was definitely a challenge, because not only did we have to sell the machine, we had to create a market for it. Because like I said, the next highest pitch machine was like $7,000. So people are like, why the hell should I buy a $95,000 machine when the next one's $7,000? I can buy like 10 of those and hire 3 coaches, So it was definitely challenging. And then, we hired more engineers, figured out, ways to make it cheaper, and just do it, better, basically, to make it more affordable for the everyday person. But back to your point, it probably would have been a lot easier starting lower and working our way up. Definitely.
What the first one that you came up with, did it have all of these things, the 10 pitches, being able to do different distances? Was that the original prototype, or did you have a bunch of prototypes that led up to what you have now?
No, our first machine was a top-of-line machine. It did have the color touchscreen. But it's funny. I mean, when we first came out, the projectors that we used were like 2,000 lumens for like $2,000. And just like computers, everything gets cheaper and better, And then, so we went to better projectors as the years went on, went to a bigger and nicer looking touchscreen. So everything just kind of advanced, technology wise. But then also we looked at the market and said that we can't really survive just selling a $95,000 pitch machine to 32 different teams, major league teams. So that's when we looked at the market and said that a lot of different facilities use the Iron Mike or the Hack Attack machine or the Jugs or the A-Tech. So let's come up with a conversion kit for those guys, which, you can call and say, listen, this is $8,000 instead of $95,000. And that's definitely helped us out quite a bit.
Yeah, that's actually a really good, because eventually you knew your market, you had the MLB and all that stuff, but then that eventually that does, close. Like if you were able to sell to every one of them, you have nothing left to sell at that point. And then expanding your market and then the conversion kit, I really like that idea. Like from a business sense, that's really thinking outside of the box of adding a twist in, being like, all right, you have this here, we'll give you the cheaper, like it's a cheaper version essentially, but you getting the same thing because you already have the setup. It just, we're adding our conversion kit to it.
Yeah. What's nice about it too is like a lot of facilities have the Iron Mike. They have the 5 of them. So they'll buy, start with one, then they'll see the revenue produced, and they'll get a second one and a third one, a fourth one. So at the end of the day, you still get a nice sale out of it. And the facility looks really nice because you have all these video screens of pictures winding up and kids love it. And it's really a win-win, from that standpoint.
Are you able, because you guys have the 3 different ones, I believe, with the pitch or the baseball, softball, and cricket, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
Are you able to, I'm just wondering, like, do they have to have like one just set up for baseball, one just set up for softball, one just set up for cricket? Or are they able to like kind of change that on the fly, where if somebody goes into that cage and wants their a softball player instead of the baseball, they want to hit the softball, like, is that something that you can change, or is it just kind of one setup?
Kind of both. So the softball has motors separated, because the ball's bigger. Now you can change them back and forth, but it takes a little bit of time. But what we do for if someone got a cricket baseball softball combo, we would use a baseball pitch head for cricket, and just change the database around. So it's all computerized, so you can just switch databases and have the cricket database or the baseball database. And the base of the database is we came up with it with the help of major league coaches, major league players, college coaches, college players, and we sat down with them and created this spot on database where all the pitch breaks are realistic, the speeds are where they should be, all that stuff. But we can switch them pretty easily.
Okay. Yeah, that was just one thing that I was like wondering, but it would be just, I can't even imagine like going into a batting cage and then having like an actual pitcher throw to me, like, because I'm just used to like staring at this cage and waiting for the ball to come flying out when you never really know when it's going to be coming.
Exactly. Yeah. When I grew up, we had it was an old grand slam. You watch the ball roll down the tube, and then you think it's coming out, but it's not coming out, and then it finally comes out, and you can't get your timing well. And then sometimes the ball's high, sometimes the ball's low, sometimes it's in and out, so it's kind of all over the place. And that's what we grew up with. So we said, you know what, this isn't the right way. Let's come up with a video screen so you know when exactly the ball's coming out. And also, there's no wasted pitches with our machine because it's a 3-0 machine. So, the accuracy is exactly where it should be, not like some of the other machines on the market.
Is that a lot of the feedback that what is the type of feedback that you're getting from people using the machine? Like, do they really like it, or they, maybe they don't like this, but like, what is the typical type of feedback?
Yeah, I would say our feedback is basically what the feedback of any pitch machine is. Well, a little bit better, I would say, but some players love pitch machines, some players don't. And the ones that don't is because it's hard to time them. A lot of those guys like our machine because it's easier to time instead of looking at a light or a ball rolling down or, a coach putting the ball in. Some of the higher end guys, they like it, but they could always get someone to throw the ball to them. So they said, why should we get your machine when we have someone to throw the ball to? But the players that aren't as big of names, they can't get players to throw them year round, so therefore they love our machine. We also have some big name players that use it for all season training. Some big name guys that say, "Let me put in my house. Let me work on left hand pitchers, right hand pitchers, curveballs," and just they add that to the training routine.
What was kind of the idea behind, because I feel like, especially here in America, like baseball and softball makes a lot of sense. What was the cricket? Did you have people approach you about it? Why did you add the cricket into it?
Yeah, so when we started the business, we had no clue about cricket or that we were going to go into the cricket market. They actually found us. So what happened was we have a lot of machines down in spring training for the major league clubs, the Florida, Arizona, and the cricket guys would come to America to see how the baseball players were trained, to kind of get some ideas, some see what kind of machines they use, equipment they use, drills they do, all that stuff, because it is a similar sport. So I forgot what team came first. It was either the ECB, which is at the UK, or Cricket Australia. They're both they compete. There's a big rivalry between the two. One of the coaches saw it. They said, "Wow, this thing's cool. Can you guys make it for cricket?" We said, "We can, but we don't know anything about cricket, so we need your help. We need your help to create the database." So they sat down with us. We had video images on it of cricket players, which are pretty wild because they come running in and then they jump and then they throw and the ball skip and spin it. I mean, they're wild. So sat down the coach, came up with the machine, sold the machine to them. It was great. That same coach then went to the other team, told them about the machine, and then they came to us and they bought a machine because they had to compete. Then they came back and bought a second machine. Next thing you know, you had New Zealand, India, all those countries buying machines, and then the ICC bought a machine for Dubai, and that's the International Cricket Council. So that's the biggest governing border. So that was pretty cool. Set up a machine Dubai for all the different teams to use, and it was definitely a cool addition. It took me a little while to understand the sport and kind of learn it. So, but it was cool,
Is there other sports that you think you could potentially maybe enter the market in, or is you guys kind of sticking with these three at least for now?
We're always looking. I mean, we've been approached by a few people to see if we could do a tennis machine. Now, the only thing with tennis machine is that our machine anytime you move, you got to recalibrate it because it's all pinpoint accurate. So that'd be a challenge. But with this new machine that we came out with, the PX3, it's a lot lighter, so we can put it on caster wheels and move it around that way. So tennis could be an option. You roll out in the tennis court, let people use it, practice serves and returns and all that stuff. But we're always looking. But right now, we're concentrating on baseball, softball, and cricket, especially because this new PX3 only came out a few years ago at a much lower price point. So we're trying to kind of exhaust that market before we look to expand.
What baseball top or MLB or up in the top programs have you guys worked with?
Yeah, so we have about 25 machines in professional baseball. One of the coolest sales, at least for me, was the Yankees. So they bought a machine, for the players. Went to the stadium. The stadium's only about an hour from here, from my house. And I grew up, with the New York fans. Met with Brian Cashman, which is pretty cool. Set the machine up for them, and then they liked it so much, and players loved it so much that they came back and bought 4 more machines to spread through their minor league system. And they actually donated one to this the Chinese Baseball Association, which they had an agreement with it at the time. So that was pretty cool. Similar was the Indians, because they bought a lot of machines throughout the years as well. And it's always nice to see, because if they buy one machine, the players like it, that means it's a good machine, because they critique everything. The spin's not right, they critique it, and they liked it enough that they kept on buying more machines. So that was a cool sale as well. I think for my father, the coolest sale was the Dodgers, because he grew up, in New York, and Brooklyn Dodgers fan, and he always wanted the Dodgers to buy a machine. So when that deal finally closed, I kind of surprised him with it, the signed quote and the check, and he was pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, it would definitely be cool, you being able to sell essentially to your hometown, your hometown team. That would be really cool to be able to do. So that's awesome. And even though it's not the Indians anymore, now we got the Guardians. So
That's right. Yeah, that's correct. Yep. Yeah, this was a couple of years ago when they first started buying, when they were the Indians.
yeah.
But I don't know if you saw the game
I
last night, but that was a wild one.
Oh, I did. Yeah, right before. Yeah, people didn't know that was going to be the fight, not the other fight that was supposed to happen later in the night.
Yeah. I mean, that was crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I think I watched it, 10 times on ESPN, and last night the videos, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. The fights in the MLB are always interesting. I don't ever see them coming, and then all of a sudden they're like, they just start swinging and they just start going.
Yeah. But you know what? I was telling my wife about this last night, that this time of the year, players are tired, they're cranky, they're not cranky, but they're starting to wear down a little bit. It's a long season. They're hot days. They're traveling everywhere. There's, they're competing for the playoffs. Sometimes the trade deadlines happen. And they get a little angry because, they're sellers or buyers. They're not where they should be to make a playoff run. So I don't really know the whole truth, the whole story behind that, but it seems like there was a story behind it for that to happen.
Yeah, it is such a long season. I mean, football, they play like, I don't even know what it is. I know in college it's like 12, 14 games or something.
Yeah, NFL is 17, I believe now.
Yeah, but they play how many games do they play in the MLB? It just seems like they're going MLB is always going on. Every for months you just see an MLB game, but you don't see that with the other sports. It is such a long season, and that'd be tough too, because that's a lot of time on the road.
Yeah.
You're not home very often, and when you are home, you're usually playing baseball, so you don't have as much time at home.
Yeah, and the game goes to, say, 10 o'clock at night. You have to take a shower, change, get on a flight to go to another town, and then you could have a 1 o'clock game. So you have to, a couple hours of sleep, get to the stadium, get a stretch, train, run, look at, there are now so many scouting reports about pitchers and, where to throw to them, where not to throw, the hitters. And so you're going to then learn that, stretch, and get ready. And it's a long season. It's definitely a long season.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of ask too, what is it, just essentially a projector screen that's projecting the actual video simulation?
Yeah. So yeah, we use it's a thick white coated canvas. So you can hit that thing all day long. It'll get dirty over time, but it will withstand the batted balls. And then the projector sits 13 to 20 feet in front of the projection screen. And it's fully covered, the big, box. So it's fully. Yeah. I mean, those guys hit the ball real hard, so you got to make sure everything's protected.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because most projectors, a lot of them hang. So I was like, how would they be able to do that? If is yours hang, or is yours the one? Is it on the thing on the ground?
Yeah, we put it on the ground, but we don't bolt it down. So if you want to use that batting cage for anything else, like soft toss, live pitching, for lessons, you can decide to the side. We do have customers that hang it from the ceiling, and you definitely can do that. We don't do that because a lot of it's custom work. And we install in facilities with 100-foot ceilings, 20-foot ceilings, and we don't have the equipment. And then take down a net sometimes and then hang it, and it's a lot of custom work. So we give the customer the option to do it, but they would have to do it themselves.
Yeah, and you can also use this as like a catcher can use this as well, correct?
Yes. So I actually grew up as a catcher, and it's a great training tool because I can create my own sequence and say 20 pitch sequence, 10 strikes, 5 low, 5, however many pitches you want, but some low, some down the middle, some inside, some outside, some in the dirt. So I can work on, receiving, framing, blocking, all that stuff. So it's definitely a good training tool. I mean, when I grew up, blocking is hard, as a kid, because you're a little scared of the ball. You're trying to get used to it. Then you have to get down there, and you have to. It helps the learning curve on how to block properly, basically, and also framing and receiving. So you could definitely do that. We have a lot of customers that do that for catching.
It's cool that if you have like a baseball facility or like where you train out of, then that serves as a dual purpose. You can use it for batting. You can use it for the catcher as well. Can you use it for any type of anything else, or is it just batting and catching really?
No, so we actually have some customers say the pitchers will work with it as well. So instead of them throwing and tiring at their arms, they'll control a touchscreen and try to set up batters and try to say, all right, so if I throw you a 92 fastball up and in, and then break you off a 72 curveball down and out, just for example, like that will set up a batter. So it'll help them think of how to pitch in a real life game without tiring at their arms. I mean, all these pitchers now, I mean, their training sessions are long, and you see the Tommy John surgeries and all that stuff, but they can still mentally, train without tiring their arms out for the games.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And in addition, we also have a product called the Strikeout Pro, where it has a video image of a right-hand batter, a left-hand batter, and a catcher, and you can pick the strike zones to throw to, and when you throw into it, it records your velocity, your accuracy, all that stuff. And we have images for boys, girls at different levels as well. So it is good for pitchers, especially that machine.
The mental side of things, like essentially, because like you're all right, like that is one of the big things right now. A lot of people you're seeing a lot of injuries to the pitcher's arms, and it's been going on for as long as I've been growing up. Like I've always seen it, and just the mental, because like I played football, and that was one of the biggest things is like when you're not in, even when our coach calls the play. And like, if you're not in, you should be watching and like imagining what you're supposed to be doing at this point, like with this call. And it was one of those things like that, the mental side of things, because then when you get in a game, you don't have to think like, what kind of pitch should I be throwing right now? Like you already kind of have a rough idea of like, all right, I should probably throw this, or maybe I'll throw this. Like you kind of get that mental side of things taken care of. So that's an interesting take on, being able to do the mental side of things as a pitcher with your machines. Now, obviously, that's that's probably not why people buy it, but if you are the pitcher and your other guys want batting practice, the pitcher can go in there and start pick the pitches instead of the coach doing it. So that way they can kind of get it's a dual aspect right there.
Yeah. And also we have, if a younger player gets drafted at high school or college, for example, and they don't see all the different pitches in high school, like the splitters and cutters and all that, a lot of times they'll put our machine at like, say, 20 splitters, down the middle, repeat a pitch, and they'll just stay in the batter's box and watch the splitters and watch the different curves of these pitches. So, before they get in a game, they see a major league splitter, which is absolutely nasty. They can at least prepare and see the different breaks and curves, before trying to hit them. So it definitely helps with pitch recognition as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Strikeout Pro on your website, and that's I mean, it literally essentially paints. It's like a video game essentially. Like you're really throwing to a video game.
And that's what's cool about our machine too, because not only is it a great training tool, like all of our machines, but they're really cool. I mean, they're fun to hit against. The first time I hit against our machine, it was a lot of fun. I mean, you try to hit an 80-mile curveball, or fastball, then you jump up to 84, and then you keep on challenging yourself, and see how fast you can hit and the different breaking pitches you can hit, and it's fun. Before you know it, an hour flies by, and not only do you have a great training session, but you have fun doing it. And we actually see a lot of times, kid will come in a batting cage and hit against our machine, and then their parents will come in because they want to try it out too, because it's fun. It's a cool machine.
Yeah, that would definitely be me too. I'd be the one where the kids would be hitting. I'd be like, all right, my turn. I want to try this out.
Yeah, I would too. That's exactly me as well.
Yeah, and it's easy too, because you have both the plates, so you can even if the kids are hitting, you're able to just go back to the other plate, and you're still being able to hit like a normal, and you're not hitting off the kids essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we can go from a little league 50-mile-an-hour fastball to a major league 80-mile-an-hour fastball within 5 seconds. So you can switch back and forth really quickly. Yeah.
So how many pitches can you do? Is there like max pitches that you can set up
for like a sequence, or just in general? It's unlimited. Yeah. So basically the way it works is whatever pitch you want in the sequence, you just throw it, and then as you're throwing it, it records it, and then hit the record button again, and then you can name it whatever you want. You can name it like Little Johnny 1 or Little Johnny Curveballs, or whatever you want. So when the customer comes back or the player comes back, they don't have to re-record the sequence. They could just go to their saved sequence and just go ahead and hit. And also, the way the sequence works is it doesn't start the same pitch every single time, so you can't memorize it. It'll go through the same order, but it'll start at different locations in that pitch sequence. So you really got to learn how to hit it. And similarly, the way we record our pitcher video images is that if the pitcher's throwing a curveball, his hand is cocked, he's actually throwing a curveball. So that's why, as a batter, you can read the arm angles, arm speeds, spin of the ball, and all that stuff, which helps as well.
Yeah, that's what a lot of, I believe a lot of pro players, like, because a lot of kids, they're trying to like just watch the ball the entire time and see it hit the bat, which is what you're supposed to do. But also a lot of the MLB, they're watching before the ball's even released. They're looking at how the hand is and that kind of stuff, and that being realistic. So how are you able to kind of get the video simulation part? Like, did you guys have to go out and essentially like record all these, or how did that happen?
Yeah. It took a while because, like one pitcher would have to throw 10 different pitches, so I had to throw a curveball at slow, medium, fast speed. So the video is not exactly to what the pitch is speed-wise, but it's within 5-10 miles an hour, so you wouldn't be able to tell. So you have to throw a curveball, a fastball, all the different pitches, and with arm speeds, arm angles, and then from the stretch, from the full windup. So it took a lot of editing. It took a lot of time, in the video booth, but we got it all. We do have to come out with new videos because we got to switch them up a little bit, but that's on our to-do list, I guess I should say.
I was gonna say, how often do new videos have to happen, or is it still kind of similar to the original?
Yeah, I mean, the original came out the best because at the time we filmed it at a major league stadium, so it looked the best, and just the way the lighting and all that stuff. But then we did another video shoot at a minor league stadium, so just add different looks and all that. But we have to do another video shoot coming out just to give some different pictures and different looks and keep the customer coming back.
Exactly. What does like the pricing look like if anybody is interested in these that is listening? Like what does the pricing look like for these products?
Yeah, so if someone has an iron mic, which is basically the entry level machine, if you will, just price wise. The conversion for that is $8,000, and that includes your video screen, the projector cover, all the computers, hardware, software, all that stuff. If you don't have the iron mic's just a tad under $4,000, so it comes like about $11,500, $12,000. That's if you have nothing. If you have a Hack Attack, which is a very popular pitching machine in the market, has 3 wheels, it's a great machine. The video conversion for that is about $15,000, and that includes video screen, projector, computer, a big barrel feeder. If you don't have the Hack Attack, then we'll add it on because we're a dealer for the Iron Mic and Hack Attack. And you come out to like 18, 19 around there. And then the top line machine, the PX3, that uses our own 3-wheel pitch machine, and that one is $27,500. And with that, you get the video screen, computer, touchscreen, barrel feeder, balls. You get everything but the net and the turf. And then the Strikeout Pro is about $15,000. And that you get the touchscreen, nice looking touchscreen, video screen, sensors, all that stuff.
So if somebody had the like a baseball screen, a softball screen, a cricket screen, are they able to take just the electronics from the like one to the other, or do they have to have all, like, are the electronics all separate and like specific to baseball, specific to softball, specific to cricket?
No, it's all actually the same machine. It's just the different databases. Basically the same machine, except for softball has a different injector on it, wider injector and different barrel on it. And the barrel feeder just allows the balls to come through. So there's 2 different size holes, for the balls to exit to go into the machine. But essentially, it's the same exact machine. It's just a different database that we create and put on it. So if I go to the machine, for example, for baseball, have a different baseball pitch selection, and then for cricket, I'll have the different selection of deliveries for cricket. So it's basically all the same, though, just little minor tweaks here and there.
How does one, if like somebody wants to get one of these simulators, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so easiest way is to go to our website, which is probatter.com. And that has basically videos on it, has pictures on it, has pricing. Or you can call our office at 203-874-2500. You could ask for me, Adam Battersby. Or if you just want to send an email to get that stuff, you can send it to sales@probatter.com or info@probatter.com. And both of those come to me. So I can, get you whatever you want, whether it be locations to hit against, to try it out, just to have fun against. It could be just to get some sales videos, whatever you want. I can help you out with those two email addresses.
Where are the biggest areas, like in the United States, that you would say that you sell to, like with the, just being for somebody to be an everyday person to be able to go use it? Like, where's the biggest area where you see the most of them?
Yeah, I would say the different baseball states, like that baseball heavy states, like Florida, Texas, California. We do a lot in Georgia too now. The Northeast is pretty popular too, because with the Northeast in Ohio, you have the bad winters, so during certain months you can't, you have to go inside to use the machine. So we do a lot with those states as well. We're at Connecticut, so that's one of the reasons why we started this machine, because it's hard for Connecticut guys to compete against Texas and California and Florida because they can play year round. Whereas the Northeast, you only have a few months to play. I mean, you can play fall ball and, all that stuff, but we can't compete against, the southern states where they can play year round. That was one of the ideas of why we came up with ProBatter. That way you can, train inside and kind of compete, a little bit. Because at the time, I mean, scouts, they came up here, but not as much as they do, down south. So, it's hard to get noticed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the same in multiple sports for, especially like football. We saw it all the time. We'd have I played in college and we had all these kids that were from Cali, from Florida, Texas, and all this stuff. And like when they came here as freshmen, and a lot of them have never experienced the cold weather and stuff, and they'd be like, "Wait, we have to go practice? It's 30 degrees." And it's like, yeah. It gets worse. Don't worry, it'll get down below zero. And they're like, "What?" And it's like, you'll see. It'll be all right.
Yeah, you can bring out the old shovel, just have give a catch.
I always loved when the Florida kids and stuff would put on their winter coats, and it'd only be like September, and I'm like, this isn't even cold yet, guys. Like, this is warm weather still.
Yeah, give it 2 more months or 3 more months, and you'll see what cold is.
Yeah. What was one of the hardest things to figure out when you were in the process of originally making this? Like, whether it was the sales or designing it? Actually, I want to ask the designing it question first. Like, what was the hardest thing to kind of figure out when you were first making the design?
We had a lot of different engineers bring different ideas to the table, which definitely helped. But we knew what we wanted. We knew we wanted a 3-wheel pitch machine because that would create more spin, more realistic spin on the different pitches. So we knew that. But then I think just incorporating everything together, the video screen, the timing, the injector, the ball feeding mechanism, the all that stuff. I mean, the time technology was great. It's not what it is now. So you have to kind of find the cheapest way of doing it, the best and cheapest way of doing it, because there's tons of ways to do it that are really expensive, but and also durable ways of doing it, because the commercial environment, our customers put on millions of pitches, so you got to make sure it lasts, you got to make sure it withstands a batted ball, you got to withstand all that stuff. I mean, these training centers, they teach players how to hit the ball as hard as they can. Those balls then come back at our machines, so we have to make sure it's durable and protected and all that stuff. But I guess all that was kind of challenging. And then over the years, the cost reduction, that was challenging as well, just because we couldn't survive at $75,000, these machines. Selling to Major League Baseball is great, but it's the hardest market to sell to. They can afford it, but the turnover of coaches, I don't want to say egos, but some egos, and they're saying, why don't I need this? I play majors myself. I know hitting. I know all that stuff. I don't need this stuff. I made it with the tee work and soft toss, and I don't need it. So that was challenging. In recent years, COVID was challenging. Both our biggest markets were shut down. We had Major League Baseball kind of shut down, college baseball shut down, gyms and training centers shut down during the busiest time of their year. the time when they make all their money to get through the summer months. So that was challenging. And then getting parts after COVID, that was probably the most challenging I've been through in a long time. I mean, that was very tough.
COVID definitely put a number on a lot of people, and like it just made parts in general that like, and no matter what industry I think you were in, you were experiencing a inventory lack thereof, per se, because you couldn't get things like all the things that you needed. So that definitely, what was the biggest thing that you would say you learned through COVID?
Get different vendors. Some of our vendors, our motor vendor basically said, we're not doing this motor anymore. They took our order, our PO. 3 months later, they said, we're not doing this order anymore. We said, wait, what? We should be having these motors now. They said, we're going to stick to less customized motors. So then we had to find like 3 different vendors that did the same motor so it's in a way good now, because if we want to place a motor order, we have 3 different, vendors to go through, so we can see who's busy, who's not busy, who can get it out quickest. So that was challenging, but definitely getting more vendors that helped. But I mean, just like inventory wise, it was hard because one motor I couldn't get. So when it became available, I had to stock up like 20 motors, and inventory was like $10,000 just in these single motors. But I couldn't get anything else, So it was, but when they came available, you got to just kind of stockpile in a way. But it was just, the whole thing was challenging. But getting different vendors, that was definitely our biggest help, and that's definitely what helped us out now.
What would you say that is the next thing? Like, what are the next steps for ProBatter?
Next steps, I want to hit the high school market harder. When we were at $75,000 and $45,000, we didn't sell a lot to high schools, just because price wise, and also they had a lot of shared facilities that with shared sports in them. Like one of our customers we sold to in Minnesota, they needed the machine on caster wheels because they're in the gymnasium with drop down nets, and at the end of their batting session, they had to roll the machine out for the basketball team to come in. But now we're selling a lot to high schools, and it's a huge market. They're everywhere, and I would like to hit that market harder. Expand more overseas, and maybe look to different sports.
Would you say the MLB is like like on the MLB college? Is MLB higher in your sales, or is college, like, which do you see more of the people getting a use out of?
It's about equal. Major League Baseball is definitely harder to sell to. Well, I should say harder. It's hard to get your door into Major League Baseball, without kind of some help, whatever. College baseball is easier to get into, but their budgets are smaller. But these colleges nowadays, I mean, they're spending so much money on these facilities. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but University of Florida, they spent, I think, $90 million on their football facility. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, like there's Jordan logos everywhere, and the locker rooms and pools, and they're just spending money on it because there's so much money in sports now, and all these guys, if they get drafted, a lot of the players donate money back. So I get it. It's just kind of getting your foot in the door, to these teams. But it's good to have both. Builds credibility, and it's they're good customers to have. I think at the time a couple of years ago, we had the number 1 D1 team and the number 1 D2 team, that was both pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy what colleges are spending on. I mean, even D3 colleges are spending a large amount of sum of money on facilities and stuff like that. Like D2, D1, you're seeing it on all levels where they're trying to get the best of the best. Their locker rooms, they want them to look the nicest. Their weight room, they want it to be the best. Like they want everything to be better than their competitors.
Yeah.
So, and that's a very good, easy well, not easy, but a great selling point for you. Like you want to have the best of the best, like stuff. This is the best, probably, batting simulator that you're going to find. So like, why not add this into the mix?
Yeah. It's a great recruiting tool as well. I mean, I think a while back, UConn had it, and UConn said to one of the recruits, this is what you'd be training against, so it helped that guy come in because he knew that they were spending money and getting, great training equipment for their program, because they wanted to get the next step. And UConn did really well.
I bet it's probably also really cool to be able to see like if you sell to a team and then like that team does really well the next season
Yeah.
or something. You're like, I feel like I kind of had a part in that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, every team that has our machine that win the World Series, you're like, oh, that's our team. It's because of us, I'm sure it's because of everything else too, like coaching and, but, you like to take a little pride in it, I guess.
Oh, I don't blame you. I would be 100% as well. But this kind of is going to move us into some of the final segments of the podcast. And I have a question that I like to ask all of my guests. And it is, if you could go back in time and tell your 16-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I can tell you what I'll tell my 13-year-old self, and that to work a lot harder, because I think at that age I was kind of my head up my rear end. But 16, I would say just find something you love. Find something that's going to make you happy. That's going to help you get your head off the bed and and put your work boots on in the morning. And because if you don't like what you're doing, it's hard. I mean, life is hard as you get older, and between responsibilities and kids and just work and all. I mean, it gets really hard. So just find something you like, and that's what will make your life a lot easier. And whatever you pick, just work hard at it. I mean, don't go half-ass at it. Work hard. Just figure out what you like and go with it.
There is the cliche saying of like, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. But
yeah,
people are
that's
like,
not necessarily true though.
Yeah, you still have to work, but it makes it way more enjoyable. I mean, how many people, we all know many people that hate their 9 to 5 or hate whatever job they have. And it's like, you almost sometimes want to look at them and go, then why are you still doing it? Like,
yeah.
There's other options out there. You're the only person that's stopping yourself from getting to that point. So just go do it. I'm tired of hearing you complain about it.
Yeah. Just life is short. Pick something you like and just go at it. I think the key is, after you come home from work every day, you have to look yourself in the mirror and just say, was I happy with today? Was I happy basically? So you gotta, either your performance or what you're doing in your life. And if you're not, you got to make changes. And if you don't make changes, it's on you, but whatever you do, just give it your all.
And that kind of moves us perfectly into the best segment of the podcast, which is Motivation Monday. Motivation Monday is the point in the episode where I allow the guests to give the Roughnecks listeners a little inspirational bump to set the tone for their week as they listen on Monday morning. So what do you got for Motivation Monday?
Motivation Monday. Get up, give it your all, and hold yourself accountable, basically. So basically what I do, I always make a list of stuff I got to do, and then I got to check it off at the end of the day and hold yourself accountable for it, whether it be making a list of sales calls, and it would be, a task list, just hold yourself accountable and then ask yourself, in the mirror every day, why did I get it right? Why did I get it done? And try to improve on that and, make the necessary steps to get your boxes all checked off and work hard, man. You got to work hard and take care of yourself and have fun.
One of the things that I don't get how some people, because I'm a very big checklist guy. Like I have my list and I have to like cross, like I want to go down and check those boxes.
Yeah.
But like, I never quite understood how some people can just like, I'll figure it out and just kind of roll with the day. And it's like, how do you even know what you got done or if you got anything done?
Yeah. I mean, the best days I have is like, if I'm making sales calls, for example, I look at my reports in the day and I say, all right, I made, 40 calls, 50 calls, 30 calls. If I made 10 calls, I'm like, well, I had a 9-hour day. What did I do for the rest, those other 8 hours, So, I mean, some days are like that. Some days are scattered. Some days, you have to put out fire. Some days you have to do this and that. Understandable. But at the end of the week, at least you got to look at yourself and look at what you did and look at your time. I mean, at the end of the week, you have 40, 50 hours. And you got to make sure you fulfill those hours, the best way that you can.
Yeah, especially when you own your own business and have you really have to be on top of your game. Otherwise, you might as well just say goodbye to that business, because it all starts with you and then trickles down to the rest.
Exactly. And let me tell you, if you're not making money, you got to open that old wallet, and that's not fun. So you're better off. You're better off, doing the best you can and work the hardest you can, just so that wallet doesn't have to come out, because that's not a fun day.
I'll finish up with this question, but if you could give one piece of business advice to, maybe somebody that was looking to start their own business or just kind of got into their own company, or is higher up, what type of business, what is the biggest piece of business advice that you think you could give?
I would say make sure you put enough time into networking, whether it be through social media, through LinkedIn, exhausting all your college buddies, your high school buddies, kind of let them all know what you're doing. Spread the word. I mean, you'll be surprised of how many leads you get, or how many connections you get. It might not be a selling lead. It might not be something that's going to give you money, but it's going to be someone that's going to lead you to someone that might have money. And getting a foot in the door is sometimes hard. Like with Major League Baseball, it's hard. I mean, Brian Cashman gets, thousands of calls every single year of people trying to sell him stuff. That doesn't work, you got to make sure someone that knows him will will help you make that sale, or help you get your foot in the door. Whether you make the sale or not is one thing, but I mean, it's a lot of it's networking and who you know, and a lot of it's hard work too, but it's make sure you put time into networking and making sure everyone knows what you're doing and your goals, and see what comes out from there. I mean, get out there and, get involved in different things, whether it be networking groups or Chamber of Commerce or something like that, just to, get your name out there.
Networking is something that I learned late in my senior year of college. And I wish I would have learned it back in high school even, because that would have made things a lot easier. But that was one of the things I learned my senior year, and that's where I have a buddy of mine that I know from high school that started a podcast, and he was asking me all at one time, he's like, how do you get all these guests? How do you get all these other people that you don't know? And I'm like, I reach out to them. I just message them on social media or LinkedIn or whatever it may be. What's the worst that's going to happen? They don't respond, or they tell you no. Okay, you still reached out. And I was like, your friends usually, I leaned on my friends hard at the beginning of this podcast as the original guest, and they were like, hey, I got a friend that does this, and then that friend hey, I got a friend that does this, and it's like a family tree. It just keeps trickling out and just gets bigger and bigger. But networking can get you so far in any aspect of life, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whatever it is. Networking is what will push you to the next level, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially because LinkedIn and Facebook now, you'll see mutual friends. So if you're trying to get a hold of someone, hey, so and so, this guy, your LinkedIn, do you have connections? And then maybe you drop his name in the email. You ask first if you can, and you'd be surprised. All the emails you get daily, if someone mentions a mutual friend, you're gonna take the time and look at it, and at least give them a couple of minutes of time to see, if it's worth it, or, you're gonna, that's what you need sometimes.
Exactly. But Adam, thank you for coming on the Roughnecks Podcast. Where can people find your products and purchase your products? I will also put the links to this in the episode description.
Yeah. So again, it's ProBatter.com. Or if you want to give the office a call, it's 203-874-2500. Or if you just want to email in, it's either info@probatter.com or sales@probatter.com. And they both come to me, whatever you need, whether it be just, locations to see the machine, to hit against it, to have fun against, or if you want to see it, to possibly purchase it, I can help you out as well. Again, it's probatter.com.
Definitely go check that out. And like I said, the links to all of this will be in the episode description. If you are somebody that is looking to get in contact with Adam about these ProBatter simulators, definitely think they're awesome. I will have to try one out when I'll find one around here or somewhere where I'm visiting and definitely go check one out. But you guys know the deal. Until Friday, when we're back with another episode of Reno's Rant. Life is hard, and it's going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. And don't let that bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out.